Number 4. Tales of Symphonia. Oh, what wonderful memories. This is a generally great game. It's kind of cliche, the story's slightly original. Instead of only having the fate of one world, you have the fate of 2 worlds. Throw in a hefty dose of monsters, corruption, father issues, angels, a world tree, elves and half-elves, magic and spirits of elements. It's definitely worth checking out. And one of the greatest parts is you can play co-op. How many RPGs let you play co-op? I can't really think of that many. And that's why I loved it. See this picture? This is my little brother. He's dead now, which is really sad. But that's not why I'm bringing it up. What was great is days when he was stuck at home with his MS, I could come home and play a fun and fanciful RPG with him. Those are great memories. It's wonderful when a game invokes that kind of memory with you. Sadly, you don't see it as much now. A lot of games are just about money. We're done. But Tales of Symphonia was a great game. And don't get me started on that sequel. Dear fucking God. I haven't seen a sequel go so sour. A series go so sour since... Well, in music, Escape the Fate's 3rd album comes to mind, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people were pissed off about that like I was. And the Sonic series recently. Yeah, after Battle Adventure 2, they kinda sucked. Sega should just make a game about Chow raising. That would have worked. You don't need Werehogs or Black Knights. Just take it back to its roots. Number 3. The Legacy of Kain series. The Legacy of Kain series is one of the few on my list, or on my honorable mentions, that isn't just a straight RPG. It didn't really even have that many RPG elements to it. What really won me over and what attracts me to RPGs is the storytelling. Storytelling, great characters, good, cool monster weapon designs, places. Those are things that attract me. I rate that kind of stuff. Obviously, I'm just starting out. But, I mean, that's what I'm into. And Legacy of Kain did such a good job. Silicon Knights did one of the first games, and there's 5 games in total. The story is really complex, involving pillars that are, instead of the elements of the world, there are pillars of the world. There's a pillar of time, a pillar of power. There's a pillar of balance, who is the son of the last pillar of balance, is the now vampire Kain. He's egotistical, he's rude, he fears his own death. So he goes on a giant rampage, massacres millions. And then someone tries to kill him, the Seraphim, which are like these Templar Knights of anti-vampirism. And this was before Underworld. I enjoyed the Underworld series, but vampire movies after that, dear God, I'd rather get stabbed in the arm. The voice acting, the storytelling. Not only do you have these games with Kain, but the spin-off, which actually ties in at the last game, where you play as both Kain and Raziel. You have a vampire lieutenant of Kain's that was murdered for evolving before him, essentially betraying him, so he's killed. Comes back as a wraith due to an elder god, which essentially looks like something out of Lovecraft. I love Lovecraft. And he goes on this vendetta to find out what was really happening, what was Kain hiding. Time travel gets involved due to the Pillar of Time guy. And it all culminates in this gigantic twist in the 5th game. Sadly, there hasn't been a Legacy of Kain game in like 5 years. The last one was in 2005, which was Legacy of Kain Defiance. Honestly, it's definitely worth it checking out. It's kind of hack and slashy, but with platforms and eccentric puzzles. Like Final Fantasy X puzzles and harder. Which, I don't know if anyone remembers Final Fantasy X now. Everyone's so focused on how much they hated 13, 14, 12. And some people hated 11. But honestly, it's such a good game, and the biggest problem with it is the camera. The camera is clunky, and it gets stuck behind odd areas so that you won't be able to see very well, and it oftentimes leads to your death. That is the worst problem with it. I would love to see a new Legacy of Kain game, but I'm not holding my breath, because I'm pretty sure the company that took it over, Crystal Dynamic, is out of business. I might be wrong, I'm not positive. But even, okay, in the most recent Soul Calibur, they added Darth Vader and Yoda, which looked really out of place and was really stupid to me. I think in the next Soul Calibur game, they should add Kain and Raziel. I would be happy with that. If you haven't done this, check out the characters from Legacy of Kain. They look like they belong in Soul Calibur, or at least that they wouldn't stand out as bad as Yoda and Darth Vader. But yeah, definitely check this out if you can find it. It might be a little hard because PS2 games aren't in high demand right now since it's been around for like 10 years. But number 2. Oh, this series has brought me so much fun and joy. This series has a cult following since the 1980s, late 80s, when it debuted on the Famicom. It's Shin Megami Tensei. How many people freaking love Shin Megami Tensei? Well, probably not as much as you would think, but it is a great game. It puts people off though, because the graphics usually lack a little bit, but the storytelling, the stories are always interesting, rather creative. Even though it usually follows the same demon summoning principles, it adds new demons, takes them away, new locations, and ways that they get involved. I mean, the original series was just kind of a dungeon crawling / RPG, and then that spun off into the Persona series, which was Persona series, just running around making friends, trying to get your social status high enough to create uber demons, and fighting off just great mysteries. There's always a good mystery in the Persona series. I mean, look, I loved it so much, I even ordered Shin Megami Tensei Persona 2 Innocent Sin from Japan. I don't have a bio breaker though. That was annoying. I need to get one. I kind of didn't because I then found out that Shin Megami Tensei Persona 2 Innocent Sin is coming to the US on PSP. Woot. Since the original did not get a release. Some people claim it was due to the Hitler boss, and people got annoyed by that. I more think it was the fact, and a lot of people think this, it's the fact that your character had the option of being gay. And it made people uncomfortable, which is obnoxious. And since there's a lot more strives in gay characters in gaming and stores, I think it's about time. So yeah, number 1. Oh, number 1. It's the Xenosaga series. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack about this, but I love Xenosaga. And like I said, this is a personal list, so it doesn't really matter, but the Xenosaga series, an epic space opera with grand visuals for its time, a heavy story that's really complicated, full of intrigue and mystery, with a hefty dose of existentialism and religious overtones. That is wonderful. Hell, the games are even named after the works of Friedrich Nietzsche. I like Nietzsche. That just adds to it. Characters like Cosmos are awesome, and no one could beat the insanity of Albedo. Dear Lord, Albedo is like if Malcolm McDowell playing Alex in Caligula had a baby and he was just going around through space doing whatever the hell he wants. There's a scene during his Mabel Pesh speech. You should find this. It's pretty easy to find. Just type in Albedo or Xenosaga and Mabel Pesh. He rips the arms and breaks the arms of robot children, throws them around like they're nothing into a giant pile of robot children corpses, even goes so far as to rip his own arm off and blow his own head off. He can regenerate. He is insane. One of my favorite villains of all time. And yeah, so the games had their problems. But oh, it was just wonderful. And it even introduced the interesting, in an RPG, like a standard turn-based RPG, there weren't a lot of games where you could sneak behind the bad guy to do extra damage. That was kind of nice. It added an extra level of depth without making it overly complicated. Which games like Infinite Undiscovery screwed up. No, not Infinite Undiscovery, Last Remnant. They made their combat system way too complicated and so many people were angry by it. But the Xenosaga series, I know it didn't get extended to the 6 series that they were kind of promising. But honestly, I think 3 is enough. I'm happy with 3. The prequel, not really prequel, the unofficial prequel, the Xenogears series, I haven't gotten around to playing, but I really want to. It has more Nietzsche themes and stuff. And the Xenoblade series, well, game for the Wii, I want to try. I haven't played it. I don't think it's out in the US. But anyways, it's been my list of top 10 games of all time. Not of all time. My favorite top 10 games of all time. As usual, subscribe. Make suggestions for games and movies to review. And yeah.